So looking at M36, this is about nuclear power. And so why do we use uranium-235 instead of 238? So this has a lot to do with the fission. It also has a lot to do with how readily available it is, but mostly with the fission. So find out why 235 is better than U-238. And then moving on to this page, page 438, where is most of the uranium mined? So where do we get it from? What countries? How is it mined? And then what are the advantages and disadvantages of nuclear power? So why is it a good thing? Why is it a bad thing? Essentially, nuclear power is clean energy once the nuclear power plant is built and pending that there's no nuclear disasters. But it's basically zero emission. So that's one huge advantage. It's extremely costly to run. And so that's one of the reasons why California only has one nuclear power plant now instead of the 5 that it used to. And then moving down to the bottom of nuclear accidents, this is also another major thing. What is a major health issue related to exposure of the radioactive material? So if you're exposed, what happens? And then there's been some pretty serious disasters in history. So if we think about out of Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, and Fukushima, which one was the most damaging? So read about those and figure out which one was the most damaging and why. And then we've got, once we use the fuel up, where does it go? What do we do with it? So what are some high-level and low-level radioactive wastes? So we have 2 different levels of waste. High level is you cannot get near it. So that is something that needs to be stored for thousands of years before it's deemed safe. Low level might be what they test for when you come out of a nuclear power plant. So you may test for trace amounts on your clothing, maybe on equipment that you're using. That would be an example of low level. And then what can happen if you're exposed? So to each one of these, what would happen if you're exposed to high level and low level? And then page 440, why and where do we store nuclear waste in the U.S.? So specifically in the U.S., where we put it. In the video that was part of these notes, it explained one of the places in California where we store it, so it's on site. There is quite a bit of controversy about an area in Nevada called Yucca Mountains. Make sure you read about that. It does talk about that in here. But that's in Nevada. So where do we store it in California, or where do we store it in the U.S.? So most of it is on site. And then the last thing here, let me adjust that a little bit for you. So California's only, this is just kind of a statement, but California's only remaining plant is the Diablo Canyon near SLO, so San Luis Obispo. It's going to be decommissioned, so shut down in 2025, not because of any issues, but just because it's pretty costly to run, and then their contract runs out. So that will be in 2025. California will not have any nuclear power plants. And California used to have, I think, 5. So anyways, just some little information there. But the main reason is that it's just really, really costly to run, and then really costly to maintain. We're trying to get into more non-renewable resources, renewable resources. And so that's one of the main reasons that is shut down. And then this very last table on page 442. After this chapter, this is all the stuff that we went over, so all the energy types. You should be able to not replicate this data table, but you should be able to discuss, if maybe on FRQ you had to discuss the differences, advantages, disadvantages, what kind of pollutants are put into the air by these different energy sources. You should be able to do that. So make sure that you're familiar with this table. Okay, and that is it for M36.